Hello and welcome to our second Excel lesson. This is meant to familiarize you with some of the tools in Excel and how to use text in efficient ways. So we're going to start off with this. We have these two columns of data, and I just want to show you a couple of quick functions. So function number one I want to show you, it's actually not a function, it's more like a feature, is in the data section of the ribbon. You'll see up here at data tools, there's a couple of different functions. There's one called remove duplicates, which is really useful. So I'm going to click on that, remove duplicates. And then it says, do you want to expand this to include other data, right? It sees that there's stuff in column A and it's like, do you want to use that? We're going to say no, continue with the current selection. So we just did a remove duplicates and we found that 6 of the duplicates were found and removed, which meant these were not unique. Which might cause issues whenever you're trying to lookups and stuff like that. So you want to be aware that your data has some duplicates. On the other hand here, you can see that this data doesn't have area codes. And that could be an explanation as to why there are duplicate phone numbers. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I am going to see how many duplicates there are for the combination of state and phone number. So to do that, I'm going to select both columns, and I'm going to click that same button in data, which is remove duplicates. And I'm press OK, and I find only 2 duplicates were found. Right, so this is telling us potentially it was the area codes that might have made these numbers different. The 2 that were duplicates seem to be true duplicates that we don't want in our data set, and that's fine. So as a quick shortcut, I'm going to assume I'm just going to make some fake area codes here. So I'm going to use a rand between function, and I want a 3-digit number to be up in front of this as another area code. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a 3-digit number of 100 and end with a 3-digit number of 999. So I'm getting a 3-digit number here that I can go ahead and add to my phone number up front. So because we want this up front, what we're going to do is we're going to add through concatenation the rest of the phone number, and we'll have a standard formatted phone number. So I'm going to press Shift and 7 for an ampersand, and then I'm going to click on the phone number, and that should add the string created by rand between those 3 digits and then the phone number. So as you can see here, we have 3 digits in front of the phone number, but we don't have a dash, and we want that formatting to be nice and neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a text string that gives us that dash. So whenever you want to add a text string into a formula, you need quotes. So and open quotes, the piece of text that we want to be in between the phone numbers, and then we're going to need another ampersand to complete that connection to B2. And then you have a phone number with an area code. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just copy this, Control-C, and I'm going to paste just the values because we don't want that rand between function. Every time it calculates, it actually comes up with a different number. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is me manually calculating. You can see the first 3 digits keep on changing. That's how the rand between function works. So I'm going to copy it, Control-C, and I'm going to paste the special values. That way it's not going to move anymore. Okay. Now say I just want the area code now, right? So we're kind of going backwards here, but it's still useful. A good way to do this is to use text to columns. So I'm going to highlight this data, and I'm going to go to the data section of the ribbon, and I'm going to click this text to columns tool. And it comes up with this wizard here that's telling you, how do you want to do this? Do you want to do it by particular width, like literally characters width, so 3 characters in and then 4 characters in? So you could do that. But it also says here that you could use delimited, right? And delimited is like you can split something using a particular character. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. We're going to use delimited. And you can see here there's options for tab, semicolon, comma, space, and other. So I'm going to use other. And I'm going to use a dash. And I'm going to click Finish, and it's going to split out my data. Nice and easy, right? Now, problem with this is it's not a function, right? It's a tool. It takes up space. I don't want to do that, and it removes my original, right? So I don't really want to do that. So I press Control-Z for undo, and I'm going to show you the way that we can do this just using a formula and just drag down that formula. So we're going to use a formula within a formula. So we're going to start with that formula that's inside the formula. So what we want to do is find the first instance where there's a dash. So we're going to use the find function, and it says here that we need to find text. So we're going to find a dash, and then we want to find that dash within C2, and we're going to close this. So as you can see here, it returns a value of 4 because that's where the dash is. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind as you use this, because what we're about to do is we are going to use a function that says, hey, let's take X amount of characters from the left end of the cell reference and return that value, right? So if we used 4, we would get 576 dash. So I'm going to subtract 1 so that I can get 576. So now we're saying, okay, the dash was 4 in, but we want 3 characters in. So I'm going to go up to the front of this, and I'm going to say left. That's the function that says, hey, I want from this cell reference this many characters in, okay, and nothing more. And that's how you get 576, right? So this whole thing is really just so that we can calculate 3 automatically, right? This is an automatic way for us to calculate 3 to say, hey, I want the first 3 characters of this data. So we can now paste this down and we'll get all the area codes. Okay. Now, what if we just wanted the space after the area code, right? So we would start with the same exact thing. We would take this left function and take the find that was sitting in there that we built, right? -1, and that's telling us 3 characters in. We're going to use a different function to determine where we start. So now the function we're going to use is actually going to be one where we are going to say, hey, start grabbing the text at this point, right? So when we count into this, we say, I want to start grabbing this data from 122-3270. 1 here is the 5th character in. So instead of subtracting 1, let's go ahead and add 1, okay? And so that's going to be our starting point. So we're going to use the mid function. The way that works is you reference the text that you want to pull from. So that's also going to be C2. And we're going to do a comma. And then you have your start number. Start number is what we calculated, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 5 is going to come through the use of this find +1. Okay? And then it's asking, okay, so we're going to take from C2, and we're going to start from character 5. How many more characters do you want to pull? I'm okay with like a ton of characters. That's fine, because I know it's always going to be limited at the length of a phone number, so it's okay. And that's the number, the equivalent number that we started with, right? All the numbers after the area codes, right? So that's that. You know, it's some text manipulation here. Can be pretty useful. Another piece of, you know, interesting text manipulation that I've used in the past is normalizing customer codes. So in the past, I've received customer codes that they were meant to be, they were meant to be 4 digits, but something will happen and they'll get cut off so that you'll have 3 digits, for example. And that can be a problem. Because you want to make sure that you can look up customer codes against other pieces of information, right? Sales by customer, customer identifying information like their address or whatever. And typically when you do a VLOOKUP to do stuff like that, you'll have trouble if they're not in a standard uniform format. So what I like to do is I like to add a whole bunch of zeros up front. Presumably, if your numbers have dropped off, from like this code, for example, the system probably needs to see 0694 as the customer code. So what we're going to do is we're going to add zeros up to the front of this to normalize a customer code to 4 digits. So let's see what that looks like. So let's take this one in mind. And what I'm going to do is because I want this to be 4 digits, I'm going to add 10, an ampersand, and references. Oh, we should have pasted special values. So I'm going to copy and paste special values. All right. Anyway, so here you're going to want to go ahead and do what I was doing before, which is to add a 0 in quotes because we're adding text to the contents of another cell, an ampersand, and then the reference for that cell. So here we are, looking pretty good. We've normalized our custom codes to 4 digits. That's really great. Problem is, if we get a customer code of 2 or 12, this formula is not going to work. And I'll show you why. When we look here, we see simply adding a 0 does not guarantee 4 digits, right? Everything that was good and already had 4 digits now has an extra 0, and everything that only had 1 digit only has 2 digits. Everything that had 2 digits has 3 digits, and we only really managed to fix this guy. So what I like to do is I like to add a whole bunch of zeros, right? And now I have way too many zeros on some of these. But it doesn't really matter because I can use a write function to make sure I only have 4 characters in total. So now I'm going to nest the contents of that cell and say, hey, I only want you to pull from the right of this, combined content now, and then only go 4 characters in to pull a normalized customer code. And bam. So we see this one is working fantastic. It's basically taking what it had and it's using it. This one added 10. That one's doing well. And then that's the money right there. You just added 3 zeros to one cell, 1 0 to another cell, left some other cells alone the way they were, and completely normalized these customer codes, which is great. Another quick thing we can do with this data is we can do a quick pivot table to determine how many phone numbers, for example, we have here, or how many customer codes we have by state. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I will click Insert Pivot Table, and we can put this pivot table right on this sheet if we want, and we'll put it there. Pivot Table is a tool that helps you make quick quick assessments of your data. So what I would do is I drag this sales field here, and it removes any duplicates, right? It summarizes. It's basically a tool that helps you summarize and say how many phone numbers do we have up here by state. So automatically we get a count. We say Connecticut has 5, Florida has 1, Massachusetts has 5, and so on. You can do this with all these fields. You can do customer codes. How many customer codes are we showing here by state? Okay, so it actually defaulted to some because it's recognizing it as numbers, but you can go ahead and go to value field settings and change it to count. And you have pretty similar numbers here. Okay, but those are some really quick quick view of this data, quick summarization.